Shabbat Shalom Mevorach. É um enorme prazer de receber este amigo da alma, o querido rabino Tom Cohen, ao vivo, desde Paris. Keilat Gesher é a Keilah que ele lidera, que ele dirige. E vamos convidar o rabino Tom Cohen para que ele nos conte um pouquinho sobre ele, que ele nos conte um pouquinho sobre a sua comunidade. Ele nos conte também um pouquinho sobre como está hoje a vida dos judeus em Paris. First of all, Shabbat Shalom Umeorach, my dear Rabbi Tom. It's a great pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine, Gershon, to be with you. I've been wanting to meet you and your community through the internet for a while now. You know, our friendship goes back for a while, and I think it's wonderful that our two communities can come together even in this brief moment.
O Rabino Tom diz que o prazer todo é dele, de estar aqui juntos, de poder estarmos assim em forma virtual juntos, as duas comunidades. I would like to remember that also Keilat Gesher and Keilat Sibra here in Porto Alegre belongs to the World Union for Progressive Judaism. Our big hug to our dear friend Rothschild, who is part of the board of the World Union for Progressive Judaism, and he stimulates this kind of meetings around the world. And today, Paris and Porto Alegre are together. We are exactly. Let me tell you that we are a city, an important city in Brazil, in South Brazil, between São Paulo and Buenos Aires, and our Keilah have about 200 families that they belong, that they are members, and our community was founded by Jewish German immigrants in 1936. We can say that we are a medium community in Brazil. People who used to come to us, I said 200 members, family members, but we can say that about 600 people, 700 people are involved. Now, in this virtual time, more people are involved with us, people from all around the world, and especially from Brazil, from other cities. We are in a continental country, and there are many cities without synagogues and without rabbis. Then it's this virtual world gave us the opportunity to be in contact with with Jews and non-Jews also. Ok, eu estou contando para o Rabino Tom sobre a nossa comunidade. Vocês não precisam, sim? Vocês já sabem o que é a Sibra. Let's listen. Let's hear a little bit about Gesher.
Keilat Gesher is a community that's now about 25 years old in terms. We started off as a chavara, a small group of 3-4 families were meeting in the rooms of the apartments of each other. And slowly one month we would have an activity, and the second month we would add in a second Friday night, and slowly we built it up until we became a synagogue. Today we're about 180 families units. We're one of the smaller synagogues, I guess, in the liberal communities in Paris, because being in Paris, we're the most Jews of Europe are in France, and the majority of the Jews of France are in the greater Paris area. There's probably about 350,000 Jews in the greater Paris region. The majority of the Jews are living in the western arrondissement and western suburbs. So in the
let me translate. Just a minute.
Yes, I know. Yeah, sorry.
O Rabino Tom nos fala que a comunidade Gesher começou como uma jaburá, como um pequeno grupo de famílias, 3-4 famílias que se reuniam em apartamentos. Isto aconteceu há 25 anos atrás, e aos pouquinhos foi crescendo e fazendo uma atividade aqui, uma atividade lá, até que eles se organizaram como comunidade. então, já existem há 25 anos, hoje eles têm 180 membros, e a comunidade francesa, a judaica francesa, mora mais na periferia. Então, os judeus da própria Paris são menos, porque eles moram mais na periferia, no centro de Paris são menos. E tem uma característica também, I'm adding this, that it's an Anglo-Saxon community. É uma comunidade anglo-sajona. O Rabino Tom é americano de nascimento, you are American, but you are living in France for many years.
Well, the community, it may have been, it was founded by these families that I like to say in my way is our mixed marriages, but not necessarily mixed marriages in the sense of a Jew and a non-Jew, but an English-speaking Jew who married a French-speaking Jew. That was my mixed marriage in the beginning, for the most part. Today, it's true, even though the synagogue has an American rabbi, most of my families are French-speaking. But they tend to be French citizens who have lived overseas and discovered other ways of being Jewish. And when they came back to France or Paris, they went to their parents' synagogue. They said, never again, that's too boring. And then they came to my synagogue because it has that international flavor. And of course, with my accent in French, they think they're still overseas.
O que conta o Rabino Tom que no início ele chamava as pessoas que pertenciam e que pertencem à comunidade famílias mistas. O que significa família mista? Não necessariamente um judeu com não judeu, não. Um judeu francês com um judeu de fala inglesa. Então, isso aí que ele considera misto, casais mistos. Hoje, a comunidade maioritariamente fala francês, mas aquele que tem esse toque que quer, aquele francês que foi para outros lugares e descobriu outro estilo judaico liberal, quando volta para Paris, ele se acerca a Gesher porque sente que ainda com o sotaque do Rabino Tom, ele acha que está do outro lado do oceano.
That's why I even had to create my own prayer book for my community that's special, that has French, English, Hebrew, and transliteration. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
But most of the when you pray in the three languages.
Majority in Hebrew. Majority in Hebrew, but then the other two languages. So on Friday night, we'll sing one psalm in Hebrew, and the next one I would say different readers in either English or French, and they will go back and forth, and you never know who's going to say what in what language.
Perfeito. Vocês viram ali o Sidur do Rabino, que nos apresentou o Rabino Tom Cohen, hebraico, inglês, francês. Also transliteration or not?
Transliteration, yes.
Also,
yes.
well,
yes.
we have the same situation here, but we don't speak we don't speak other languages. It's Hebrew and Portuguese with my flavor accent because yes. I was born in Argentina. Yes. Then my Portuguese it's different. Also my English is different accent, and also my Hebrew it's different accent. But everybody can understand what we are talking. This is the most important thing. Aqui eu estou falando com o Rabino Cohen, acontece o mesmo. Nós temos o Sidur hebraico, português também transliterado, and also transliteration. For us, it's very important transliteration because not everybody in Brazil can read and can pray in Hebrew. It's our reality.
That's why I try. I want the Talmud Torah kids to not have the transliteration, but I have it for the adults because I know I want them to participate just as much. Yes, it's the same.
Sí, o Talmud Torah, as aulas de Talmud Torah que imparte o Rabino Tom para seus Bnei Mitzvah, ele não usa o transliteration. Here is the same. All our students, all our Bar Mitzvah students read the Torah reading. It's in Hebrew, and they need to study Hebrew for the Bar Mitzvah. Just for reading, but they need to study.
Yes. Yeah, but I hesitated to put transliteration into my Siddur because because you have in Hebrew people who are illiterate, and you have people who are illiterate. Now I've created the transliterate, people who can only read Hebrew in transliteration.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about one point that it's not a happy point to talk. But
Yes.
we as Jewish in Brazil, in the diaspora, really see very worried about the situation of anti-Semitism in Europe and especially in France. We know that Paris, yes, it's one of the biggest Muslims communities in the world, and we know and we follow what happened in Paris some years ago with Charlie Hebdo and the kosher supermarket, and we are very worried, which is nowadays the situation.
Today, the situation.
The anti-Semitism, and
Well,
also with this situation with the
with the
yes,
okay, so
please.
no, the anti-Semitism there has always been in
And also situation in the Middle East.
Yes. Okay. I was going to say that
Antisemitismo sempre
France,
sempre houve na França.
yeah. I was going to say overall, it's true what you said. France has the largest Muslim population of Europe, and it has the largest Jewish population of Europe, and in certain areas they live side by side.
Ok, está certo o que eu falo. Realmente França tem a maior comunidade muçulmana da Europa, mas também tem a maior comunidade judaica da Europa, e eles moram lado a lado. You said before that you have 300,000 Jews
In the greater Paris area, in big Paris. In France overall, there's maybe 500,000. So, so we are the third largest.
Então,
we're the third largest.
Mais de 300.000. Sim, mais de 300.000 judeus que moram na região de Paris, e em toda a França, sim, mais de 500.000 judeus. The third community in the world.
Yes. So Israel, United States.
Terceira comunidade judaica no mundo.
And so
okay. Então,
yes,
depois de Israel, depois dos Estados Unidos, a terceira grande comunidade é França.
So yes, there has been anti-Semitic incidents.
Please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. I don't know if we have a delay right now going on. Do we have a delay? Okay. So yes, there is
a short delay.
Okay. There is anti-Semitism going on in France. Right now, it's at a lower level. It's much higher in other areas of like the United States, as you saw in the past couple of weeks, where they had tremendous amounts in Los Angeles and New York and Chicago. Here, we did not have the same sort of violence going on during the Israel-Gaza war. We did have a lot of papers and newspapers and media that was very unfavorable, if not downright anti-Semitic through anti-Semitism texts. But I think that's something that's right now worldwide. A lot of the Jews of France have made Aliyah, but not necessarily to Israel at all. They made Aliyah from one bad neighborhood of France to a better neighborhood. That's why the 17th arrondissement, where my community is now set, we are the largest amount of Jews concentrations of Paris, which means we have the largest amount of Jews throughout Europe. Where I'm at, there is no you don't feel any anti-Semitism. Maybe we're in a bubble.
O que fala o Rabino Tom, che realmente o antisemitismo cresceu muito neste último período na França. mas não nos níveis dos Estados Unidos, especificamente como tivemos nas últimas semanas durante o conflito da faixa de Gaza com Israel, mas obviamente que teve muitos ataques na mídia e muitas manifestações anti-israelenses que acabaram sendo manifestações anti-judias. Poderíamos dizer que não existe um antissemitismo como se vivió nas últimas semanas nos Estados Unidos, mas é uma situação que realmente preocupa. I read a lot about different apps that the Jewish community create just to be in alert against attacks. Isso aí, sim, eu fiquei muito surpreso de ler que existem aplicativos onde a própria comunidade judaica pode denunciar onde existe algum tipo de perigo. This kind of app, I read that exists in Germany and also in France, yes?
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it. So,
Okay.
so I can't really tell you much about the apps. I do know that after the first attack against a synagogue since World War II, which goes back many years, the Jewish community created a security for all of the communities, whether Orthodox or liberal, and they inform us whenever there's tensions that are higher or not. But it
Tem
is
um
true.
sistema, um sistema de segurança, como nós temos aqui também no Brasil, que é próprio sistema de segurança da própria comunidade judaica, que bom, que vai monitorando a situação e quando a situação realmente é complexa, bom, se enviam os alertas e se faz o que tem que ser feito.
And of course, in our building project for the new synagogue that I'm constructing with my community, almost half of the costs that we have to put out will be for bulletproof windows and for man-trap doors. We will get a subsidy from the Ministry of the Interior. A large amount of it will be paid back by the French government, but we have to come up with the original monies to put forth.
O que o Rabino Tom comenta que bom que na nova sinagoga que ele está construindo e que de fato já estão trabalhando lá dentro, bom, o Ministério de Relações de Security, yes, Minister,
Yeah.
o Ministério de
Ministry of the
Segurança,
Interior.
o Ministério do Interior sí, colaboró con la sinagoga para poder levantar sí, toda aquella estructura que tiene que ver con vidrios antibalas, paredes duplas, etc. Bom, para que eles possam ter total segurança, e isso aí é um dinheiro que eles receberam como contribuição para essa nova sinagoga. Let's talk about the nice things, okay? Let's talk about life and ceremonies. I know Paris, it's a very romantic city, and many people, many Jews, non-Jews, have the dream to get married in Paris. How it's work in the Jewish world? Do you receive many phone calls, emails? Rabbi Tom, please, we have a dream to have our chuppah in Champs-Élysées. No.
I do weddings like that several times a year. People who I call those destination weddings. People who will want to come and be married in Paris or being outside of Paris in a chateau. And so that happens all the time. And I love to being part of people's lives for that. So
o Rabino Tom recebe realmente muitas ligações de casais que lhe procuram, porque o sonho é casar em Paris. Le Chateau é um dos lugares que o pessoal escolhe para fazer o casamento e ele está muito feliz. Tell me the truth. Is it true? Is it true that babies are coming from Paris or not?
Yes, you know, with the COVID, you know, I joked a lot at the beginning that either at the end of the COVID, when people start coming out, I will either have a lot of divorces or a lot of babies in the community, and so we're having a lot of babies. So, so this is it's a romantic place.
Paris é uma cidade muito romântica. Sim, com a situação do Covid aconteceram duas coisas. Ou o pessoal se divorciou, ou vieram muitos babies, ou vieram muitos nenês para a comunidade. Okay, this is
And
nice. This is nice.
today
How
people,
is to live? How is to live? Yes, please,
I was going to say,
please.
now at the with the COVID coming, we're controlling it better now in France. I don't know how it is for your in Brazil, but people we just opened up and people are starting to be outside and eating in restaurants outdoors, and you feel life coming back to the city. It was beforehand. It was very sad to see everything closed, museums, restaurants, um, in a beautiful city like this. But now you have the life coming back to it, and Jewish life as well.
Bom, eu começo pelo final, que está dizendo o Rabino Tome que a vida está voltando depois deste período de Covid, a vida judaica também está voltando, novamente este período triste, onde tudo estava fechado, museus estavam fechados, restaurantes estavam fechados, tudo estava fechado, agora está reabrindo, então a vida está voltando. We still continue with our mask. The situation in Brazil it's very, very bad.
Yes.
This week we will arrive to 465,000 deaths by COVID.
Wow.
I spoke with some doctors from our community, and they said that for December the number perhaps increase the double. We will have the projection, it's 1 million deaths by COVID in Brazil. In the other hand, we are a continental country with 220 million citizens, and we can say that 40 million are vaccinated yet.
Yeah.
But we are waiting for other vaccines. We are receiving vaccines from all around the world, the Chinese vaccine and the Pfizer and Oxford and AstraZeneca. And we started to produce the vaccine here in Brazil. This is very important.
Yes.
To give an answer to the population, but we have a big problem. I don't like to enter in political issues, but our president is not an example during the COVID, who is going to every place without mask, and he's not very enthusiastic with the vaccines. Okay, I will not translate this.
Okay. I understand. I understand.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So our synagogue at this point is open. We have services with people in person, but we also maintain things online because we have, so it's hybrid services Friday and Saturday.
A sinagoga em Paris, Sinagoga Gesher, já está aberta, mas eles mesmo assim mantêm um sistema híbrido de ter pessoas e transmitir online para neste tempo. Our doors are closed from the beginning of the pandemic, but for the ceremonies we open doors just for the family and a few relatives. 30% of the capacity of the synagogue it's allowed. It's by the government, and we follow the laws. Yes, sim, a lei conforme a lei do país, é isso que a gente segue. Então a nossa sinagoga está aberta, mas mantemos o espaço. And how is to be, this is perhaps a personal question, but it's a communitary question. How is to be married with a rabbi? ¿Sí? O rabino Tom è casado con una queridísima rabina Pauline Bebé. ¿Cómo es un casal de rabinos morando en París, un americano, otro francés? How is two rabbis in the same home?
I would say that many of our congregants can understand it in the sense that if you're two lawyers who met at law school and got married, and you ended up working in different law firms. You work it out in home and so forth. So we're doing it on a rabbinical level. The added advantage of speaking two languages, me being the English speaker and my wife the French speaker, Pauline, is that whenever we get mad at each other, we can then start only speaking in our home language, our mother tongue, and and of course we don't always understand what the other one says, and that's my secret for our long life of marriage, marital happiness.
Bom, o que está dizendo Tom, bom, que quando tem dois advogados casados no mesmo casal, bom, cada um tem seu escritório, e cada um desenvolve o seu sistema de leis, e cada um trabalha, e cada um se entende, bom, isto aqui é um casal como todo casal, mas são os dois rabinos, e eles decidiram quando se casaram, que cada um iria falar a sua língua natal, por isso que eles se entendem tão bem, até agora está tudo tão bem dentro de casa, cada um fala a sua língua e ninguém se entende.
Yeah. It works well, but we are the 23rd rabbinic couple in the world, I was told, when we got married, but there's many more today.
23rd?
Yeah, I was told. I can't verify that, but I was told when we got married, we were the 23rd rabbinical.
I know Analia and Mario Karpuch, both rabbis. Now they moved to Israel, and they are very happy, and they are a very nice couple like you.
Oh God, thank you. But we love your family and you.
Realmente, sì, o Rabino Tom registra che ele e a sua esposa são o casal número 23 de rabinos no mundo. Bom, hoje deve ter muitos mais. Eu lembro do casal de Mario e Analia Karpuch, ambos rabinos que estudaram comigo no seminário rabínico, que são um casal também maravilhoso e hoje moram em Israel. I had the blessing to spend the Shabbat in your home. When I returned from my rabbinical studies in Israel, I spent a couple of days in Paris, and we had a very nice meeting. I remember my wife was very worried because it's late on the night, and we went to the coffee shop and we talked, and it was so nice conversation, talking about the community, the Jewish life, our lives, and I hope to be soon again in Europe, drinking a cup of coffee or eating a baguette. The Brazilian dream is to enter to a supermarket, buy a baguette, a national French wine. That is very cheap in France. Here, when you buy a French wine in Brazil, it's very expensive. But the Brazilian dream is to enter to the supermarket, buy a baguette, cheese, local cheese, national cheese, and national wine. For us, it's a dream and it's fantastic.
And this is lunch for us.
Eu estava falando que o sonho brasileiro é ir para a França, comprar uma baguete com um pedaço de queijo nacional e um vinho nacional, que para nós é importado e aqui é fantástico, mas para eles é uma refeição, como diz o Tom. Bom, e men que imagem Torá, se não temos farinha, não temos Torá. We talk about community, we talk about family, we talk about anti-Semitism, we talk about Judaism, and now it's time to talk and study Torah. I like you said, let's discuss Torah.
Yes.
You like to fight with me, to discuss. It's not just sitting in a friendly way to study Torah. We need to discuss. This is part of the dialogue.
Yes, yes.
It's heard very, very strong in Portuguese. Discussion.
Yes.
Because this gives you the idea of fight. But I don't go into fight with you, just change ideas.
Okay, exchange your ideas. But this is one of the greatest parshiot of all of Torah coming up this week, Shlach Lecha. Already, as soon as I hear the very first word, shlach lecha, it makes you think of lech lecha immediately. Shlach lecha, which means send for yourself, just as it says lech lecha, go for yourself. And often, at least in English and often in French, I can't tell you for Portuguese, that lecha is never translated. It just says send explorators or send to yourself, send, go forth, but it never says go forth for yourself.
Okay.
And I think that lecha is important.
Ok. Tom diz que esta é uma das parashiot mais empolgantes da Torá. Hoje nós vamos estudar Parashat Shlech Lecha. Estamos no livro de Bamidbar. We are in the Bamidbar book. This is the 37th Torah portion of the Torah.
Mhm.
If you like to read with us and to discuss with us, you can open the Torah in the book Bamidbar, Numbers 13, chapter 13. And let's say, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei torateja.
Amén.
Bendito sejas tu, ó Deus, Rei do Universo, que nos encarregaste de ocuparmos das palavras da tua Torá. O que falava o Rabino Tom, que nós temos aqui a sutileza da palavra lechá, shlach lechá, que nos faz lembrar da parashá lech lechá. O que significa lechá? Lechá significa para ti. E esta aqui é uma parashá na qual Deus fala com Moshe, God speak with Moses, and he invite to send for him or for the people one member for each group, for each tribe, to see what's going on in Eretz Canaan. Então, uma pessoa por cada uma das tribos para ver que acontecia. We need to remember that, of course, God knows what's going on in Eretz Canaan, and he don't need to know what's happened there. But it was a necessity for the own people to know what's going on in Eretz Israel. We need to remember that part of the people asked for Moshe to return to Egypt, and they prefer to return and not, they receive. We need to remember, because it's very easy to be sitting in Paris or in Porto Alegre studying the parasha, and they say, oh, look, these people, they didn't like to continue their path, their way. But we are in another time, and today we have communication, and we know exactly when we are going to another place at the city. We can see on Facebook or on the internet, on Google, we can see the picture or the photograph of the hotel or the home that we are going to stay. We know exactly the road. We know exactly, we can put also the ways and know exactly the time that will take from one point to the other. And this kind of information they hadn't in this time. And for us, that we are sitting comfortable in our homes or in our synagogue, in my case, the situation is different. We need, when we study, I always invite the people to think in this time. And what they have in this time, they remember that they receive fresh fish in Egypt, in the Nile River,
onions, melons,
and they are tired to receive manna. How many? Please.
I was going to say that I've always found that when they talk about bechinam, we had free fish, we had free melons, we had free onions, even garlic, and yet that's the nostalgia, because it wasn't free. They were slaves, and they were given food to work, and they didn't get to choose what food they got, and they didn't get to choose what tasks they had, and they didn't get to choose what time they had. And so that's the difficult part for them in Egypt, or not Egypt, in the desert. It's for the first time, how do you make a choice? And that's scary when you don't know how to make a choice.
Che la prima vez eles tinham que fazer uma escolha e a escolha realmente nos dá muito medo. Eles tinham nostalgia, eles lembravam que comiam o peixe no Egito e que comiam outros alimentos e que comiam as frutas e comiam os vegetais, tudo de graça, tudo livre, mas eles pagavam um alto custo para comer tudo isso ali, ou para receber tudo isso aí em forma livre. Eles eram escravos e eles pagavam, tinham que pagar com o seu trabalho, tinham que pagar com seus impostos, tinham que pagar, mas a lembrança era justamente, bom, nós recebíamos, esse passo novo é um passo diferente. I like the strategy that shows this parasha, that show us a very democratic strategy to choose one member, one distinction member from each tribe. And the choice, it's not Moses' choice. Each tribe choice the member.
Well, their leader, their prince, the chieftain of each tribe. So it was not just anybody. It was the model for that tribe, and they were there not to be spies, but to observe. And so what they saw would have an effect on everybody else. As we know, leaders around the world, how our leaders act can have an effect on the rest of the population.
No eran qualquer pessoa, eram líderes das suas tribos, e você sabe muito bem qual é o efeito no mundo destes líderes quando eles devem ir para contar o que iriam enxergar. Let's remember to the people who is studying with us, yes, that the mission was to go to Eretz Canaan and see there exactly what's going on, and to take some food from this land, and to come back and to tell the truth. Então a missão deles era ir, trazer comida, ver o que acontecia e contar a verdade. And this parasha shows another important point of view, that not always the majority are right.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have 12 people who represent the people of Israel. Just to Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yoshua bin Nun, they came back and they said the truth. The other 10 lied. But this shows us that perhaps if you have a majority that they are saying something, keep also heard the minority.
I like that very much. It's a good reminder that the majority is not always right, and especially when you think about it, these were, like I said, leaders, people who have an influence, an enormous influence, and they came back. And what did they say? They said that we looked like grasshoppers to those people, and they were giants. It's not that they said they were giants for a start. They said that we must have looked like grasshoppers to them. They gave them their own reflection of what they thought of themselves, and that's that lack of confidence in themselves that they reflected through that line. I'll let you continue with the maybe.
Tom gostou deste ponto de vista da maioria e da minoria, e a questão passa não por como representantes enxergábamos outros, mas como eles se enxergavam a eles mesmos, que eles eram diminutos do outro povo. Sim, não era como eles enxergavam os outros, eram como eles se auto-enxergavam, diminutos em relação a poder subir naquela terra e poder conquistar aquela terra. The important point that you said, it's how they look themselves and not how they saw the others.
And that part to
Yes,
me,
this is
yes,
your idea.
that's exactly that, because they lost confidence in themselves. And that's what they come back to and tell the people. And which is very different than the story of the Vodor, of the Agelet Zahav, of the golden calf, where in the golden calf, that story, they lost confidence in God because they built an idol. But God maybe have been not very happy and killed off the people who made the idol, but he didn't kill off all of the people. But in this story, he said, you have lost confidence not just in me, but in yourselves. So you can't, you're psychologically not ready to go to the promised land. So that's when we have to wander around from losing confidence in ourselves as opposed to losing confidence in God.
Aqui Tom traz e faz uma comparação muito interessante com a história do becerro de ouro. Nós temos aqui uma história que é uma história de perda de confiança neles mesmos. Quando falamos do becerro de ouro, estamos falando que o povo perdeu a confiança em Deus. Aqui nesta história, o povo, os representantes do povo, perdem a sua autoconfiança e, portanto, eles se autodefinem, estão prontos para entrar na terra de Israel. We have, when I said to study before our meeting, I thought appear one word that appeared, it's spy. Yes, spies.
Yes, sure.
And I think that we have a wonderful opportunity also. We are talking with a French American rabbi or American French rabbi. I remember one important name in the Jewish history, the name of Alfred.
Alfred.
Let me. No, the history of the spies. That he was one of the captains of the French army.
Alfred Dreyfus.
Dreyfus. Sorry, Dreyfus. Alfred Dreyfus. That he was accused to be a spy.
Yes.
And this point, this condition to be spy, reflects in this history, because in this time, when we are talking about Alfred Dreyfus, we see a conspiracy against the Jewish people, but from outside. And now that we are talking about spies, we can see this conspiracy inside. Mm-hmm. It's not easy to be a spy, but we need to trust in these people.
And on top of that, that verb latour that's used here to scout out and so forth, it also gives the modern word in Hebrew for tourist.
Yes, it's an international word. Yes, latour,
yes,
turismo.
Exactly.
Also in Portuguese, turismo.
Yeah. So what is the difference between being a tourist and being a spy? That's an interesting articulation. Were they sent just to look at things, observe, and come back with impressions? Or were they going there to get military information, which is usually what a spy does? I've always looked at this story and thought because the 10 came back and gave a terrible report and said that they're giants and we're grasshoppers in their eyes and we should go back to Egypt. And 2, as you know, came back carrying the grapes and saying it's a land flowing of milk and honey, and let's go up and take it. And that becomes the symbol of the Ministry of Tourism in Israel. If you look at it, 2 men carrying a raft of grapes, look at that when you go back to Israel. But what I always thought is actually the 10 who came back, they actually knew that we would win. They knew we could go up and take it. They knew it because they've seen Sinai. They saw the Red Sea split. And if God said we're going to get it, they knew this was happening. But why did they say no? Because they didn't want to lose that special moment with God. Being in the desert, God took care of them. They were in the nature. They were in pristine. They had manna coming down. They didn't have to work, do things, but they could be spiritual all the time. And they knew that if we entered into the land, you have to work, and things become much more murky and difficult to decide. And it's not always spiritual. And sometimes the spirituality is found in the profane of what we do. And they didn't want that. They want to remain pristine, pure. And to be a Jew means to go actually put your hands into the dirt.
O que diz o Tom é o seguinte, que essas mentiras da maioria tem muito a ver com o medo de perder o conforto que eles tinham no deserto, que era o mundo espiritual, porque internamente os espiões sabiam que podiam conquistar a terra de Israel e que podiam ir e que podiam entrar e que podiam morar lá, mas era muito mais confortável ficar naquela dimensão espiritual do deserto, onde eles não trabalhavam, onde eles recebiam maná, onde eles tinham que demonstrar uma lealdade a Deus. Y voltando para aquelas palavras do início, quando falamos e comparamos de espionagem, uma coisa é espionar, ir para um lugar e trazer informações, entre aspas, militares e de logística e tudo o que acontecia, e outra coisa é ir e fazer turismo e dar, sim, uma opinião que não chega a ser uma opinião logística. Então, na hora de espionar, saber diferenciar, uma coisa é ir com uma estratégia para voltar e informar realmente se existem condições ou não para habitar aquela terra, e outra é ir como turista, ir e voltar carregando aquelas uvas, aquelas parreiras que são famosas até o dia de hoje, sim, em Shavuot, quando falamos de Bikurim, se fala e se lembra, mas uma coisa é completamente diferente da outra. I try to summarize. Yes, you talk a lot, and I'm not a professional translator, but people can understand the taste of your commentary, and I try to make the best translation. Okay.
Because it's always an image that I've always thought about, because that's a lot like many of us. We're scared to go forward because we're scared we're going to succeed.
E isso aí se parece um pouco a nós. ¿Sí? Nós às vezes temos medo de sair de nós mesmos para uma outra dimensão, porque temos medo de sair, mas temos medo de ter sucesso.
And succeeding means that we have to change what we do, and we're not always 100% pure after that. And that's the challenge of this world.
Sí, e sucesso vem também acompanhado de mudança. E às vezes nós temos medo de ter sucesso, porque isso aí irá acarrear também uma mudança. Really, I love your expression. Yes, to be success and to be afraid to change for a big change. Yes.
And I think that's what we
And this is the part of the Shlach Lecha, Lech Lecha. Yes,
exactly.
we are going to we are going back to the beginning. Sí.
Yes. And it goes back to what we're all going through in our countries as we start to do. At least we're a little bit maybe more advanced right now in the medical aspect in France than Brazil, but there's that scaredness of going out, and it's easier to try and just stay where you're stuck, where you're at, because we know what's going on, we know, but but we have to enter into the promised land. That's where the holiness really is, and that means we also have to, when the conditions are right, we have to leave our homes and go back into society.
Então, o Tom toma pontos de comparação, tanto da história pessoal dele como a minha. Ele que deixou os Estados Unidos, eu deixei a Argentina, ele foi para Paris, eu vim aqui para Porto Alegre, ambos tivemos que deixar aquilo que nós chamamos de área de conforto. We have a very nice expression in Portuguese. It's
Yes.
the comfort area. Yes, the comfort area. You are in your homeland.
Comfort zone, we say in English.
Comfort, yes, comfort zone. You are in your own land, with your own language, with your own customs, and with your own food, and with your own traditions, and you know your environment, and from one day to the other, you change everything: the language, the customs, your food, your calendar, your time zone, also everything changed. But o que diz o Rabino Tom, que bom, nós não temos que desistir de ir para a nossa terra prometida. Sim, our final destination is the Holy Land, the Promised Land. And perhaps also this is a message for us as a rabbi. Yes, we change place, but we are on the way. Or perhaps our challenge is to recreate part of this Holy Land inside our communities.
Absolutely. I would actually, if I was to retranslate that term, the Holy Land or the Promised Land, instead of saying the Promised Land, I would say the land of promises. C'était la terre qui porte beaucoup de promesses. So depending on how we look at the future in front of us, we can embrace it or we can be scared of it.
Então, o que está dizendo Tom é que ele trocaria, quando ele está ouvindo estes conceitos, que ele trocaria a questão de terra prometida por terra das promessas. Aquele local onde a gente vai é a terra das promessas. Essa terra onde podemos ter sucesso ou aquela terra onde a gente pode ter medo.
And I was going to say that when you talked about the rabbinates, we both have very different histories, but we have some similar parts of our history. You did not grow up in Brazil. You grew up in Argentina. You spoke Spanish, and you went into a Brazilian culture, which is not there are differences, and the Portuguese, and I came from America, English, and I came to here to France. My kids will say I never learned French, but that's a different story. But that being said, is that you made a success of this community. That is a wonderful community that I see behind you, and I follow on internet, and because you weren't afraid of embracing success. And that, I think, is for your community an honor for them, that they should look at, as well as a reminder to them, because as leaders, like the leaders of Israel, we have a possibility to either create embracing success and going forward, or getting stuck in our comfort zone, or even worse, dying in nostalgia in the past.
Nós temos muitos pontos em comum. Don't worry about what your children, your kids say from you. I listen, I heard the same from my kids.
Okay.
They always make a joke that for you, you never will speak like us as a Brazilian. They was born they were born here in Brazil. They are Brazilian. They have both nationalities. They are Brazilian and they are Argentinian. But they were born here in Brazil. But they always make this joke. You never will talk as a Brazilian. I have my accent. What to do? Mas o que diz Tom, sei que nós temos histórias semelhantes, que nós poderíamos ficar na nostalgia. Bom, eu, na minha nostalgia da Argentina, ou eu poderia, sim, abraçar o sucesso e não ter medo e construir a comunidade, que de fato, sim, e não é porque eu fale isso aí, o Tom disse, sim, eu acompanho o que tu faz, eu vejo o teu trabalho, and I also can say that I also see your success in Paris, and the demonstration of this success and that you are not afraid, it's how you embrace the Jewish French community. And if you are building a new synagogue nowadays with all the complexity of COVID time and with all the complexity of anti-Semitism and all the complexity of the 21st century and recession and economics problem, it shows that you are not afraid. And this is not good to speak, and we say in Portuguese that you are putting flowers in yourself, but I recognize your work, and sometimes perhaps the people who are in your surround don't see enough to recognize what you are doing in this hard time.
But I think it's something that we as Jews, rabbis, but also our members who are listening to us and so forth, have to remember that our role is to be Yehudim, which means to be grateful, thankful, but also that we're supposed to bring tikva, hope. And that is even the prophets when Jeremiah, it was a Jeremiah, hopefully I don't get this wrong, who when the Babylonian army is about to come to Jerusalem to destroy it, he goes to Anatot, a little village the other side of the hill, and he buys land and he builds a house, even though it's in the way of the Babylonian army, because he said even in the most darkest of times we have to bring hope. And I think that's also the message in Shlach Lecha.
Então, o Rabino Tom nos fala do profeta Irmiau, Jeremiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah. I think is it Jeremiah or am I? Yeah.
Sì, che nos tempos de destruição, nos tempos da destruição da Babilônia, ele foi e comprou terras e ele construiu, porque existe algo muito importante que mexe conosco como líderes, e assim como mexeu com o profeta mesmo nos tempos de destruição, que é a esperança, hope. See, this is a very interesting word, hope. The hope give us the possibility to have dreams. As leaders, I'm saying that we need to dream, and if you have some difficulties or some problems, no one can say that you don't have the right to dream with better times or with a better community, with a better relationship with your neighbors. Also, if they hate you. I know that you practice a lot the interfaith dialogue, like me, and we need to construct bridges inside the Jewish community. Sometimes it's not easy. Outside the Jewish community, and also a very, very long bridge with Israel,
Yes.
and between our communities. And this is the reason why we are together now. We are building bridges. We are creating a friendship, not just between us. It's just a consolidation of our friendship that give our community members also to become friends and to visit once the others. Tom, I really appreciate your time. We have exactly 5 hour difference between Brazil and France. We will continue in our
Yes.
Shabbat atmosphere, but we would like to wish to you and to your entire community Shabbat Tov. This is the crazy war.
And for you to have a wonderful Shabbat in your community. And as soon as the conditions permit that people can travel, I look forward to one day visiting you in your community, and I know that you will want to come and visit me in my community. We've had that.
Let's organize with in a normal time this kind of visit. I'm
Yeah.
sure that if I said and if we organize a trip to discover the Jewish Paris, we know that you can show us Paris in a different way, like I did with my community here in Brazil. I take them to
Yes.
Argentina to show
Yes.
my Buenos Aires, my Judía, yes, my Jewish Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
And if you are coming to visit to South America, we can organize a trip to show us our history. And the most important thing is to share our Judaism, to share our tradition, our history, and our friendship.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Take
much
care.
to you, and thank you very much to Charlie Rothschild,
Yes.
who stimulate. Charlie, it's a very enthusiastic man from the board, from the World Union for Progressive Judaism, and
And
from
for all of our,
Paris.
I was going to say, for all of our members and all of our both of our communities, do support the World Union in its work.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much. How is the? I know which is the à tout à l'heure. Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir, which, because I know no Portuguese whatsoever, I can only say lehitraot.
Okay. Au revoir. Au revoir. It's a great pleasure. Just reserve for me if your national wine, one baguette, one
And cheese.
croissant. I love to visit the boulangerie. Boulangerie, it's one of my favorite places to visit in Paris. And one crepe, okay, in the list, okay.
You got it.
And when we will receive you, we will give you churrasco, a
Yeah.
very good barbecue. We are the land of the gauchos.
Yes.
Yes, the land of the cowboys. Here in South Brazil, we have a very good meat, also very good wine, national wine, Brazilian wine,
Yes.
also very good cheese. Okay.
I look forward to it. Okay. Take
Au
care.
revoir, au
Au
revoir,
revoir.
תודה רבה, להתראות.
Lehitraot.